A Boba Fett miniseries.
Yeah, this has been causing a lot of contention among fans. This
I can
is,
imagine.
yeah, this is, you wouldn't think it would though, because it's kind of what people have said. Look, remember back when everybody was getting all excited about a Boba Fett movie?
Yes.
And it's like all of a sudden, and I don't know why people are skeptical, but first of all, where do you fall in this? So we see a Boba Fett miniseries coming out. What are you thinking and feeling about it?
Well, I have a lot of questions about it, actually. Like, what is it going to cover? Is it going to cover the time in between the time that we last see him in, what was he in, Rebels or Clone Wars? Um, the last time that we see him there until the first time that we see him again in uh, Empire? Or is it going to cover that time period? No, he wasn't in. He was in. Did we see him in A New Hope? Like in maybe it was a
Special
deleted scene
edition,
in the
yes.
background. There you go.
Special editions, you did.
That's what I
So
was
that
thinking.
scene when,
Yep.
Han and Jabba were talking,
Yep.
Boba Fett was there.
He was there. So are we going to see him? What happens to him in between that time, or is it going to, um, you know, is it going to focus on how he got out of the Sarlacc pit, that kind of thing? The article that that is referenced here, it kind of takes a different take than kind of where my questioning is going. But what are you feeling about it? Do you think this is going to be a good thing, or you are like, I don't really think it's necessary? What do you think?
I think a miniseries actually is the perfect vehicle for a Boba Fett. I thought a Boba Fett movie would have been a little bit too much.
Too much? Yeah.
What I was actually lobbying for back at the time that they were announcing a movie was, hey, do like kind of like a oh, what's that movie? Ocean's 11 kind of thing, but with bounty hunters.
Oh, okay.
Give me like a bounty hunter movie,
Hmm.
like some sort of underworld kind of movie, and Boba Fett maybe is one of the main characters, but it's not centered on him.
Okay.
However, so in Legends, he got out of the Sarlacc pit, and we know how.
Hmm.
But since that was nullified, we didn't have any canon evidence that he got out, except in the Aftermath trilogy, and that's where the Cobb Vanth character comes in.
Hmm.
He basically, it was like his armor. It was kind of like basically what you saw in the first episode of The Mandalorian. It was
Yeah.
more or less a loose adaptation of the Aftermath book.
Hmm.
It's kind of like that. But I think they do need to show how he got out of the Sarlacc pit. And I think that that's what's going to happen because the timing of this thing, he makes his appearance in the first episode of The Mandalorian, season 2.
Yep. Hmm.
And then, like, a week later, they go, oh, look, a Boba Fett movie series. And we're going to start shooting it as early as, like, early December. It's like, okay. And then, get this. It's going to be released sometime before season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
So it'll probably be like around, I'd say anywhere between like the soonest we would get it would be like around May, might come out maybe August or September. And then of course, October, you get season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Right. So is it going to be like, here's how he got to that point when we see him in season 2 of Mandalorian? Is it going to be, hey, he got out of the Sarlacc pit, now here's what he's been doing?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
In fact, what I think they're going to do is they're almost going to make, in a way, a prequel to that first episode.
Right. Okay.
How did Cobb Vanth get the armor? How did Boba get out of the Sarlacc pit? What's he been doing? Because I'm not 100%, ever since they announced the miniseries, I'm not 100% sure we're even going to see any more Boba Fett in The Mandalorian this season.
Yeah, I wondered about that too.
If we do, it would be the last episode.
Right.
So what I think is going to happen...
That would be a perfect lead up then into the miniseries, because then it kind of whets your appetite. Yeah.
Yep. You see him in the last episode. There's like a little bit of maybe like a cliffhanger thing there. You know, whatever he's going to do. Then you get this, hey, back in the Sarlacc pit, you know, it's kind of like, okay, now you catch him up, and then season 3, maybe he features a little bit more prominently.
Right. Now, here's something that I just thought of too. So in season 1 of The Mandalorian, there was still that person with the jingling spurs as they walked. Now, are they going to reveal then in this miniseries that actually was Boba Fett, or are they going to say no, that was Cobb Vanth? You know,
what do you think? I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think they're going to do? Because then they could bring back that whole other character. I forget what the character's name was at that time, but she was the assassin, right? So they could do something really nice with that, as long as she's not dead, you know, in actuality.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point. And it never even occurred to me that could have been Cobb Vanth.
Right.
Because he's the one that has the armor. Yep. Let's see. Ronaldo says, I really want to see this. It's a great idea. There's a lot of potential for Boba Fett, and he needs to clean up his image after his death in episode 6. I agree. He goes on to say,
timely demise.
Absolutely. That was so stupid. I mean, all right, I'll get to that in a second. I don't see why you would tease him in Mandalorian in such a great way and don't use it. So I agree with those points, but keep in mind it is Lucasfilm. And absolutely. It was so disappointing. Even though I was like, so this is May of 83, so I was 12. I was 12 when I saw Return of the Jedi, right? And even I'm like, really? Really? The 12-year-old me is like, this is what you do? I was looking forward to seeing, because you got to remember, we saw him in the 78 holiday special. That's where he's introduced in like an animated form. Then he pops up in Empire Strikes Back. Because even the action figure came out between the holiday special and the release of Empire Strikes Back. So it was probably like 79. And what was funny was it's not like you could buy it in the stores. That didn't happen until after Empire was released. Actually, what it was...
you had to send away for it, right?
Yes. You actually had to clip out, like, I don't know, something insane, like 10 proof of purchase seals from, you know, like the figures that you bought. So you had to buy like 10 figures, right? Mail this thing in, and then you got the Boba Fett figure. Now, what's interesting is the original Boba Fett figure actually had a missile that would launch out of his back.
Yep.
But some kid like choked on it, and so
choking.
They basically made it to where when you press the button, it would like move a little bit, but you couldn't pull it out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I got the mail order one, but it was after the kid choked. So.
Oh.
But I had one of the original Boba Fett figures though. So, and this is even before. So my point is, we don't even know what he's doing in Empire Strikes Back. All we know is we got this figure of like the coolest Star Wars character. We have no idea what he's going to do. And so Empire comes out. It's like, all right, they're kind of setting him up. He's in a couple of scenes. So we all thought that's it. Return of the Jedi, this is where it's going to get real. They're going to get Han Solo out of carbonite, and then, you know, Boba Fett's going to like hunt him down, and this is going to be cool. Because there was actually rumors that Return of the Jedi, it was actually going to be 2 movies.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, it was originally called Revenge of the Jedi.
Yep.
So it's going to be Revenge of the Jedi, and then they were going to make a movie like 3 years later and call it The Return of Han Solo. That was the rumor.
Wow.
Now, I don't know.
I never knew that, actually.
Yeah, well, this is in between 80 and 82 that this rumor was big. So it's one of those things where there were like so many things that they could have done with the Boba Fett character. And it's like, okay, somebody accidentally hits him and sends his jet. I mean, it was so slapstick.
I know.
It didn't really even fit the tone of the movie.
Yeah.
Because then in the next scene, you got Leia like wrapping a chain around Jabba and like basically choking him out. I mean,
yeah.
if you think about it, man, that's pretty hardcore.
Uh-huh.
Not to mention they have her in this like really slinky bikini thing. It's kind of like, this is kind of venturing into adult territory.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my dad wasn't necessarily too upset about the whole thing. But so Ronaldo says, imagine if it wasn't Boba Fett, the guy we saw in The Mandalorian, it was just a deserted clone trooper. I would feel cheated. You know what? There was a rumor that it's actually Rex.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Because supposedly we're supposed to see Rex. And remember, when we leave off in season 7 of Clone Wars, Rex and Ahsoka were together.
Okay.
And if Ahsoka's popping up in The Mandalorian, it could stand to reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could go either way on that because enough time has transpired. I don't know if they would stick together or not, but, who knows?
Okay, so you said at the end of Rebels, right? That Ahsoka and Rex were together.
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars. That's right. So you'll have to clear up my memory because I'm remembering some wild speculation now that after the character of Rex was introduced, they actually pointed to the white bearded guy in Return of the Jedi on Endor being Rex. Is that actually Rex? Because I don't remember if I ever got that confirmation or not.
They retconned it to be Rex. Okay. Obviously, the Rex character didn't exist when that movie was made.
Yeah, exactly.
But because it was kind of a fan thing that, hey, kind of looks like it could be, because of the resemblance. And so Lucasfilm did officially canonize that as Rex.
So now then that begs the question, is Rex still with Ahsoka? Because, right now, The Mandalorian is taking place after the events of the Return of the Jedi. What happened to him after the Battle of Endor? Where did he go? Did he just say, a good point. Okay, I'm going back to Ahsoka's house,
You find out like they're married. They got all these like little weird clone / Twi'lek kids or whatever. I mean, it's true. It is weird. And again, and this is what happens when you have these timelines converging like this, is the fact that it's like, okay, the more that they basically come out with around the same time period, the more dangerous it becomes. It's kind of like what we talked about Monday with the sequel trilogy. It's like, well, you could make it, but I mean,
gotta be careful.
Gotta be really careful. And it's like the more obstacles they put in their way, the more they risk having to explain this stuff, because you have to explain it. It's just like what I was saying. I think it was the last, we didn't end up doing the show last Friday, but the Friday before, I think I made mention of the fact that if you introduce it, basically like the Boba Fett thing, for instance, if you bring him into the Mandalorian, eventually you got to show how he got out of the Sarlacc pit.
Exactly.
I mean, you could, and I remember debating with some people about this, like, well, we don't have to know. We just have to know he got out. It's like, well, I don't think so.
Right.
So an event that big, you have to see it, because you could get away with it, or you could just put it in another book somewhere. But again, it's one of those things that if you introduce something in television or movies, then you have to explain it in the same medium.
Yeah. I mean, Jabba made such a big deal about how in the Sarlacc pit you'd be slowly digested over 1,000 years. So that means that it's probably excruciating. So as soon as somebody goes in there, you're gonna have to explain how they got out and how it was not excruciating for them, or maybe it was, and then they decided, or they figured out a way out. I don't know, but tell that to the weak-way skiff guard that's down there with him.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing, too. It's like, and again, I remember one of our Duel of the Fates segments was like, the recent ones actually, was a Sarlacc versus a Crate Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Which would you rather like face? And I'm like, well, neither one of them really. I mean, but there's something to me that's scarier about the Sarlacc pit. The Sarlacc pit is more of a nightmare thing.
Yeah, it's horror movie type stuff.
It is, totally.
Yeah.
It's totally horror movie type stuff. I mean, just imagine, it's not like there's streetlights in the desert. So you're in the dark, you're wandering around, and you just fall into this. I mean, this thing's got like tentacles, and I mean, it's kind of a freaky concept. And I think that, again, it's like you said, it's totally like horror movie territory here. So if you get this guy, because the way that Jabba described it, it was like, look, there's no way you're getting out of this thing. That was part of the horror. It's like, you are going to be slowly digested for over 1,000 years, and there's no way out. And because I think it was during that debate that Daryl and I were trying to figure out, like, okay, you're slowly digested over 1,000 years, but how long are you alive?
Right. That's a great question.
Because it's like, it sounds bad, but it's like, are you dead within like a day? I mean, in that case, who cares?
Right. I mean, well, okay. So, I don't know about any other species, but, how long can a human go without water or without food? That's probably how long you're going to last in the Sarlacc pit. I wouldn't think, unless it's really like horror movie stuff, that they're actually, that the Sarlacc actually injects you with nutrients to keep you alive while it's digesting you. That would be really creepy. But
wow, like, look at you taking it to another level. But this kind of jives with it though, because part of the reason why Boba Fett was said to be able to escape. Now, again, I'm going by the Legends explanation here. Okay, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. I don't know where they're going to go with this, but part of the explanation was that his armor was protecting him.
Yeah.
So whereas somebody who was like, dressed like me, I guess, would be toast. But because he had armor, even though it's kind of funny that when you really stop and think about it, because if you go back and look at his armor, it's like Din Djarin has armor.
Right.
He had like a breastplate and a shirt and pants and, was like maybe some knee pads or something. I mean, it wasn't really armor. Yeah,
right. It wasn't it wasn't as extensive as what Din has, for sure. So
not at all. So I mean, unless it's like, I don't know, like work pants or something. I mean, how much is it really protecting you?
Right.
It's like, I mean, these are the things that Star Wars fans think about, everybody. I mean, just in case you're wondering, right. This is what keeps us up at night. We're just sitting there asleep like, okay, I got to work tomorrow, but how did he survive the Sarlacc pit exactly? Just how do you do that with like work pants and a work shirt and a breastplate? And I mean, but again, they have to explain this in the context of the series, I think. In this mini-series, I really think is what they're finally going to do. Because keep in mind, if Favreau and Filoni are the ones that are in charge of it, and at this point I would think they have to be, just because of the timing of it, look, those guys are super fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can see just by the way the Mandalorian's gone, it's like, okay, these guys have obviously read the books, read comics, they know their canon. So they're probably like, what we got to do? We got to show how he gets out of the Sarlacc. People would like go insane if they saw that.
Absolutely.
And they're good at horror. Look, I don't know about you, but the season 1 episode where they were on that foresty type planet.
Okay, yep, that one. I was also thinking of the when they were on that prison ship.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That one was another good one.
Where he kind of did a little Michael Myers thing going.
Yeah, yeah. Din Djarin was like the stalker guy in that one. That was pretty
Totally.
cool.
I mean, it actually, you know what it reminded me of? And Daryl was the one that actually pointed it out because it reminded him of this. And then when I thought back, I'm like, he's right. It reminded me of the Rogue One Darth Vader scene.
Ah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like that version of it. But what I was thinking,
Yep.
and what actually gave me chills and freaked me out a little, was that Scout Walker with the red eyes.
Right.
And the way that it was very horror movie-ish to me.
Yep.
So I think these guys could really do justice, especially with the technology they have now. I think you could really get this good Sarlacc scene going.
Exactly. Yeah. I wonder if it has something to do with this jetpack, to be honest, where, yeah, it may have gone on the fritz when it got hit with, I don't know, the skiff guard stick or whatever that was. But, if he, I don't know if he'd be able to take it off in the Sarlacc pit.
If I remember, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like maybe if he repaired it, if I remember correctly, he was desperately trying to do something, and he did some. This is like in the Legends book where it shows how he got out, and he was able to get one burst out of it, and it just
okay.
What was cool was the way that the writer described the scene was great. It was just tearing the Sarlacc apart from the inside.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was phenomenal, man. So Ronaldo says, in other words, Filoni and Favreau have done what Kathleen Kennedy should have done. Know the canon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's, I wasn't going to say it, but now that you brought it up, that's basically it. It's like, look, they got to put people that are invested in the stories of Star Wars.
Yep.
Not just the business of it. Because nothing bothered me more than watching her on that, what do they call it, the gallery? Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
All those episodes they did, like after
and saying
the Mandalorian
there's
ended.
No source material.
Yeah,
Is that
man.
what you're thinking of?
Well, that was like earlier on. And this is what irritated me. She's saying all that, and she's obviously like just completely clueless about Star Wars. And then she gets on this post-Mandalorian show where they're doing these roundtable discussions, and she's going on and on about how, she wants to honor Lucas, and then she says, oh yeah, there's like 25,000 years worth of stories in the Star Wars universe. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I guess you finally, actually opened up a Star Wars book or anything. I mean, it just amazes me that somebody who's supposed to be the guardian of all things Star Wars would actually feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, man. It could get me upset. But some of these new details that we're talking about, I'm assuming you had the article open, but this is what kills me about this. So you open up the article, because the article's like, oh yeah, new details.
Right.
Yeah, no release date.
Not really.
No plot details.
No trailer.
No trailer, no director. It's basically saying, yeah, they're going to shoot something. We don't know what it is.
Right. The who's in the cast? We're assuming Morrison will be. But
I mean, it's
really
so
know.
funny because it's so clickbaity. And generally what I've been doing is I've been taking these long podcasts that we do every Friday, and I've been actually putting out the individual segments as videos.
Okay.
For people that don't want to sit through a 3-hour show. I hope that people don't write and go, hey, this is clickbait. Because it's like, listen, man, it wasn't me. It was the article.
Yeah.
I tried. And I think we gave some details. I think we actually did a good job. Like, you know what, man? We did what we could. All right. So let me know what you guys are thinking as far as, do you want the Boba Fett miniseries? Yes or no? And then if you do, what time period do you want it to take place in?
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.